My name is Monica Gross from the Adult Literacy X Prize. This is Literation Lounge, which is a twice-a-month speaker series supported by the Barbara Bush Foundation Adult Literacy X Prize. And so we're going to feature experts in the field of adult education, ed tech, adult literacy, and entrepreneurs who are really trying to make great gains and improvements in the way that we deliver education to adult learners who are maybe learning adult basic education or ESL. And so today we have accelerating learning in adult education, the nuts and bolts of integrated education and training with Dr. Carol Clymer. Dr. Clymer is a research associate in the College of Education at Penn State University and co-director of the Institute for the Study of Adult Literacy and the Goodling Institute for Research and Family Literacy. Dr. Clymer has over 40 years of experience in implementing and evaluating programs to improve the education and employment prospects of low-income and or low-skill individuals. As a senior program director in a public-private venture, she's participated in the design and implementation of professional development projects on large-scale evaluations and outcome studies related to performance, benchmarking, employment retention, sectorial employment, out-of-school youth, and college access. As the Director of Literacy and Workforce Development at El Paso Community College, her work focused on adult education, workplace and family literacy, and she also authored numerous publications, including a guide to implementing IETs. So Carol, without further ado, I'll turn it over to you, and hopefully everybody will be able to hear way better than they're hearing me.
All right, Monica. Yeah, it's always something with technology sometimes, so we'll work through it. Hi, everybody. Thank you so much for joining today. This is a topic that I have been working on for a couple of years now, and it's it's very dear to my heart. I think it's a great strategy for helping individuals who have low basic skills or need English as a second language learning to accelerate their learning in occupational skills and help them earn credentials and move in career ladders. So I'm going to just talk a little bit about integrated education and training today, give you some basics of it, and especially how it is being delivered and should be delivered in the context of the Workforce Innovation and Opportunity Act. And then talk a little bit about some of the benefits and the challenges, and provide some resources for those of you who want to learn more about integrated education and training. So in terms of background, and everyone calls them IETs, so I'll use that acronym so we can move a little faster. We got to catch up with some time. So IETs, as I said, they help adult basic ed and ESL students improve their basic language and occupational skills while meeting local labor market needs. And that local labor market needs, you'll see in a second how important that is. Some of the programs that have been around a while, Instituto del Progreso Latino, Carreras en Salud, Health Careers, they have a really pretty strong pathway that's integrated in healthcares. They enable people even at the 4th grade reading level to enter in the pathway. They've been studied a lot. So that's been around since around 2005. One of the best integrated education and training program, known the best. I don't know if it's the best, but a lot of people feel like it's a really good effort, is the Integrated Basic Education and Skills Training Program in Washington, in the state of Washington. They began in 2005. There's been a lot of study on their way of doing integrated education and training. They have a situation where all of the adult education programs are operated through the community colleges, and they are the ones who probably put integrated education and training on the map, because they kind of provided the structure and the funding so that all community colleges could do this kind of accelerated instruction. Accelerating Opportunity and Accelerate Texas are two other well-known programs that we're, funded Accelerate Texas with Texas Higher Education Coordinating Board and the Texas Workforce Commission, and then Accelerating Opportunity. Various funders and foundations did this integrated training in Kentucky, Illinois, Kansas, and they studied it in terms of how it could be implemented well, what were some of the outcomes, how it could be implemented throughout the whole state, and that's a very large initiative. And then finally plugged in Virginia, another just integrated education and training effort in the state, a little bit different. They do more around career development and career shadowing. So thought I'd mention that. So in 2014, the federal government re-legislated the workforce, they changed the Workforce Investment Act to the Workforce Innovation and Opportunity Act. And because there was a lot of evidence for the value of integrated education and training, they made it a really important part of WIOA. And in terms of WIOA, they also added a few things that are a little bit different than some of the other programs that I just highlighted. There are 3 required components in an IET. They must provide adult education, you must provide workforce preparation, and you must provide workforce training, and they are to be occurring simultaneously. So you can't have someone in their adult education program first working on their basic skills or their language before they start the workforce training. They have to occur at the same time. And that's where the word integration is so important in this strategy. The intent is that the instructor from the occupational training and the adult education basic skills or language instructor will work together to develop a single set of objectives so that they're both working on helping the individual build their basic skills and their occupational skills at the same time. And then there's also another component which can either happen in the occupational skills part of the training or the adult education part of the training, and that's the workforce preparation areas, such as a lot of people call those the soft skills, teamwork, understanding how to solve problems, making decisions, speaking clearly, those kinds of things. And very often those will happen in both the adult education component and the workforce training component. And then all of the IET in WIOA, and if it's funded with the federal WIOA dollars, it's supposed to connect with workforce development, local and state plans, and it's also supposed to be part of a career pathway so that the students can progress in their careers. And one of the most important things, it's supposed to be connected to jobs. So one of the things I think that is really critical, and as people design their integrated education and training programs, is to keep in mind that an IET is supposed to be job-led, not training-led. Very often, if some of you are listening today, remember the old JTPA times, they would have training programs and try to get people into those training programs. And yeah, they could fill up classes often, but many times there were not jobs connected to the training. In IET-driven training, you're supposed to start with the job. There's supposed to be employers that have jobs, and then organize your occupational skills component and your basic skills component and your workforce prep component that relate specifically to those jobs. Now, in some cases, if it's not being funded with WIOA funds, oftentimes the job will be part of the, down the line. Like in the state of Washington, they're building these career pathways that somebody might be taking, doing integrated education and training in a situation where they're getting some credentials or certificates, and doing their post-secondary training before they get a job. But ultimately, it's all supposed to lead to a job. So what does it take to do an IET? Jobs, as I just said, or some post-secondary training, that outcome that it's connected to. You have to have a basic skills deficient or an English language learning population. So IETs, at least according to the WIOA definition, you wouldn't develop an IET unless you have a group of people who can't succeed in the occupational skills part of the IET without building their basic skills. So, an IET isn't, organized in WIOA, at least with WIOA funds, for people that are at a high skill level. They're really supposed to help people with low skills get their occupational skills, so they don't have to languish in some of the basic skills courses that can happen. IET takes partners. It's the workforce partners kind of helping figure out what jobs are available, working with community colleges or community-based organizations that offer either occupational skills training or basic skills training. In some cases, a community college could do the whole IET if they have basic skills department on their campus, but in other cases, maybe an IET is done along with a community-based organization. It's whoever can do the best part of the IET, basic skills, occupational skills training, and the workforce prep. It takes systems thinking because there's a lot involved in planning an IET. As I said in that, remember the slide where they occur simultaneously and together? Well, you might have some jobs that in manufacturing or in healthcare or in IT that an employer needs workers, and you might have a occupational skills short-term training course that is available and you could use for that IET training, but it's not necessarily the case always that you would have basic skills students that want to go into that training. So the systems have to align, and different parts of the workforce folks and the basic skills folks or the ESL folks have to work together with the occupational partners in order for things to align from a systems perspective. And that takes a lot of planning. And it takes a lot of patience because, I like to say this, IETs happen if the stars align. There's a lot of moving parts in getting them to, things to fall together at the same time. So there's benefits. As I said before, there has been research done that is, pretty impressive. IBEST research showed that an IET positively impacts adult education outcomes in terms of their earning credits, more college credits, earning certificates, getting gains on their basic skills. And also in the IBEST colleges, people who attended the IBEST programs had 7.5 more, they were more likely to, 7.5 percentage points more likely to earn a certificate within 3 years, and almost 10 percentage points more likely to earn some college credit compared to students who didn't participate in IBEST. the Accelerating Opportunity initiative that I mentioned earlier. They had a positive impact on the number of college credits that were earned, and in most cases, students earn more credentials while taking fewer courses, which speaks to the acceleration advantage of IET. And it really did help participants, move more quickly through their post-secondary experiences. But there are challenges. We have I tried to implement IETs in our program. We run an adult basic ed program, and it's if you get federal Title II Workforce Investment Opportunity Act dollars. In some states, you're required to do IETs. Texas is requiring IETs. Massachusetts is requiring IETs. In just your traditional programming. All programs that get integrated English and language civics education dollars from the federal government have to do IETs in Title II. So, in every state, there's some requirement for an IET, but it's not always the case that workforce development partners are maybe interested in helping with an IET, or that you can find the occupational skills trainer that you can work with in order to do an IET. So from those who are funded with Title II dollars and they have to do IETs, they end up being, those providers often end up being in charge because it's something that they need to do. So that's one of the challenges is getting everybody on board. Another one, as I said before, is matching that target population to the training and the labor market needs. You may have a group of people in your adult basic ed class who, would benefit from an occupational skills training and an integrated course, but not everybody wants to always do the same thing. So you don't have enough people to set up the IET in healthcare because you don't have enough. It's possible that you may not have enough people who are interested in that. You also have to have the buy-in of all partners. And this to me is related to, sometimes I was on the Accelerating Opportunity Evaluation, so I got to see a lot of implementation of integrated education and training. And in some cases, whole departments of occupational skills instructors, they didn't want to do this. They felt like they didn't want anybody else involved in, teaching their students and, keep the basic skills over there. We'll do our skills training over here. And in some cases, it was hard to get occupational skills folks on board. In other cases, maybe the basic skills instructors weren't as interested in working on the occupational skills things. We need to teach the basics first, and then they'll do okay. They're not going to succeed in the occupational skills until they get the basics down. Who funds the IET is another challenge. You can use WIOA dollars to fund the IET if your state allows it, but there, you can't. It's not always enough money to fund all of the parts that are needed for the IET, such as planning. It takes a lot of time to develop an IET because often new curriculum has to be developed. You're trying to work on those single set of objectives and contextualizing instruction, and that takes time to align and get lessons that are truly integrated to help accelerate learning. And it takes a lot of planning to do an IET. We've faced this situation. Manufacturing had CNC jobs available, and there were students that were interested in the CNC, but it it was going to take a while to develop the curriculum and get it on the books at the occupational, the college that we were working on. So, you know, we couldn't get it up and running fast enough, you know, for the employers in some cases. And then another thing is IETs are supposed to be part of a career pathways, not something that you do one time and drop it, because it is a big investment. But oftentimes career pathways aren't always well developed. So kind of making the IET part of the pathway can be a challenge. And then I have some resources. As I said, this is something that I have been working on for a number of years. A couple of years ago, we got a grant from our workforce partners who were very, very interested in doing IETs in our region, and they funded the development of a basic skills curriculum for an IET. The guide to the Pathways to Employment program was the grant that they were working on, and this is the first resource on here. And so we decided to develop a guide that takes individuals that may be planning an IET through the whole process from A to Z to how to do the IET, develop the basic skills curriculum, work with partners, get everything aligned in terms of the courses and scheduled, do all of the planning. That's in the first resource. We also have done training, extensive training in various states, Massachusetts, Texas, COABE pre-conferences, NCTN, we've done a pre-conference. So we have a training program that's available to go with that IET guide. And then the Center for Law and Social Policy CLASP has done some work on opportunities for action memo, where they've kind of taken a scan of all the IET efforts that have been going on. The National Skills Coalition did the same thing, the third resource there. And then the National Career Transition Network also did some case studies on integrated education and training in diverse contexts. They aren't necessarily aligned with WIOA implementation, but it's a lot of good information. And then here's my contact information. Again, this website that's here, that guide, the first version of that guide is available on that website. And if you want more information, I'm happy to talk to you. Monica, can people ask questions? Because I'd love to hear.
Yes,
folks.
Yes, they can. And that's where we are right now, in Q&A. And can you hear me? I haven't been able to get IT to figure out what the issue was earlier.
I can hear you, and there's not any echoes.
Yay! Okay, so now Q&A is open. So if anyone has a question for Carol, you can type that in the chat, or so we'll be able to fill that through there. And I'll start with one question. Carol, in your experience, have there been certain industries that are more open to IETs, or certain industries where IETs seem to be more needed?
Well, certainly the most common area where you find IETs is healthcare. And that's probably because that is where there are a lot of jobs. There tend to be jobs for, you know, people that, you know, have lower skills. There's a definite pathway in, you know, more of a definite pathway in healthcare. Manufacturing is very open, I think, to IETs. Some of those reports that, you know, I have in the resources have the different, you know, types of industries that are doing IETs, the trades, construction, clerical, that's another area. Trying trying to think off the top of my head some of the examples in the training. Electronics, HVAC. Ones I think that have shorter term training available and jobs are going to be, I think, more a better match for an IET.
Okay, okay, thank you. We did have one question in the chat is, will you be able to share your slides? Because what I can do, when I send out the email with the actual recorded video of this presentation, I can also include the slides if you'd like.
Absolutely, sure. Happy to do them. I spent some time on them. People might as well have them.
My lights went off.
Any other questions?
Let's see here. How much of the training is on site versus independent work at home on smartphones and computers? Now,
when you mean the training, do you mean how many people are doing online training with IETs? Is that?
I'm waiting for clarification on that. Yes.
I have not heard a lot of online training related to IETs, although I do think in the state of Maine, they are doing some of that. And I'm just remembering from a workshop I did where there was a lot of people there from Maine, and they were doing some things with online. I think there were online occupational skills courses already developed. So they were trying to, you know, connect with those courses. That's all that I've heard of that.
Okay, we have one more question. How have you dealt with the issues of students without legal status and your specific experience with your IET program?
You know, in central Pennsylvania, we do not have a lot of immigrants or people that don't have legal status. So it's not that there's dairy farms around here. We have not faced that issue. I know it occurs in Texas. You know, I think it depends on the state that you're in. I do believe in Texas that, you know, I don't think they, you know, ask about their legal status and think they're participating in programs. That's not happening in the state of Arizona. So it really depends on what your state and, you know, how lenient your state is. Does that answer your question?
Waiting on an answer in the chat box. Yep, Melissa said, yes, it does. Thank you.
Yeah, I know there's some job categories that you can't, you know, have to avoid. But I also know that in the state of Texas, what something that they are specifically trying to do to handle that is increase attention on entrepreneurial training. So they have a lot of focus on training people in entrepreneurial programs.
Okay, do we have any more questions? If you do have a question, please do type it in the chat box. Give it a couple of seconds to see if anything pops up before we get ready to wrap up. Okay, well, we haven't had anything pop up, so I'll get ready to wrap up this Literation Lounge. And I first want to thank Dr. Carol Clymer for your time, sharing your expertise, and really information that's going to help adult educators be able to properly and better service the adult learners that they're teaching. So we want to thank you for your time today, especially when it comes to, you know, integrated education into trades and skills and making sure that, you know, learners can simultaneously build their skills and also be able to have jobs where they can provide for their families and just get a sense of some upward mobility. And so here at the Adult Literacy X Prize, we're doing our part to be able to, move the needle on low literacy here in the U.S. And so something that we launched back in June is our Adult Literacy X Prize Communities Competition. So let me get that up for you and I'll give you some information. And so right now, registration is open for our communities competition. And it's pretty much, we have $1 million to give away to the community to help us distribute free, proven, effective adult literacy apps. The first phase ends in December of this year. You could win your share of $500,000. The 50 best proposals will get $10,000 to get put back into your adult education program. And then phase 2 will be the distribution of the winning apps in 2019, where you'll be able to win your share of an additional $500,000. The deadline to register is December the 8th. You will go to communities.xprize.org to do so and learn more information about the competition. And the deadline to do the proposal is December 21st, 2018. So I just want to make sure you guys know about that. If you have any questions, you can always contact us at adults.literacy@xprize.org and be able to just learn more about it. We do have an informational webinar coming up September 27th. I'll be sure to share that information out with you guys on registration, the time, so you'll be able, if your interest is piqued, you'll be able to learn more about the competition and ask some one-on-one questions of us here at the Adult Literacy X Prize. And in regard to Literation Lounge, our next is next week, September 19th, 10 a.m. We have one of our finalist teams, Learn and Upgrade, and they'll be speaking about giving providers a new model for adult learning. And so please make sure that you register. Once again, an email will go out to all participants who are on the call today with additional details in regard to what you can do to sign up for Literation Lounge, join the webinar for the community competition, and also register for the competition, as well as the presentation for today and a link to the YouTube video with the recording of today's presentation. So with that, if there are no more questions, I want to thank you all so much for coming. Have a great day, and we'll see you next week for our next Literation Lounge. Bye-bye.